So in this video, I'm going to take you through the current best paying savings accounts for children as of April 2023. Obviously, these rates can change and they very likely will change. Not as much as we see in other savings accounts. There's not as much movement here, but any other changes that do come along, then I'll let you know in my monthly updates if there's anything substantial to tell you about my monthly sort of savings account news and offers here on the channel. Before we get into the actual best buys, I'm going to take you quickly through some of the options you've got for saving for a child. And you've got some which they can essentially access at any time, although it might at a certain age, at younger ages, require you to be a signatory or a trustee of that account. You've got some where that money is locked away for a short amount of time, but once that fix is over, whatever it might be, then they can get the cash and spend it as they want. Or you've got some accounts which lock the money away until you're 18, till they are 18. So what one you want to go for there will probably depend on what you're thinking about the money is for. Is it about helping them learn about money? Is it helping them understand they've got money, their own money, in a bank account that they can use, sometimes with a debit card, although again, that's probably more around sort of teenage years onwards, so they can get this. They can actually spend with that card themselves, understand how money works. Or is it about making sure there's a lump of money for them when they turn 18, or maybe they might want to save it a bit later, but help them for university, buying a car, things like that. They're the kind of the real sort of, I think, decisions you've got to make when it comes to it. Importantly as well, if you're a parent or a guardian, no problem. You'll be able to open up these accounts really easily. If you're not, it can be slightly more complicated. A lot of the time, they won't let you do it. Or if they do, they'll need a birth certificate, an authorised copy of that, or something like that to prove the child does exist. Some of them may even send a letter to the child's parent afterwards saying this account has been opened in your child's name. Because remember, these accounts are all in the children's name, not your name. The children's name saying, do you want them to have this available for them? So again, that could be slightly more problematic. And if you are going to do that for them, obviously then you'll need to get those documents, get that information from the parent if that's what you're going to go down, the route you're going to go down. So let's start off with the best easy access accounts. So I'll jump over to the blog, becleveryourcash.com. There's a little QR code over here. If you click onto that with your phone, scan that, that'll open up the whole website. And when you're there, you can search for the children's savings page. But let's open this up, shall we? This is the top paying one right now. In terms of easy access, it's the HSBC My Savings account. Now this one will give you 4% variable on savings of up to £3,000. Anything above £3,000, you get 1.5%. So if you're following my other videos on a regular basis where I do talk about savings accounts, you'll see that actually they're not as strong children's accounts as they used to be. It used to be the best rates out there were in children's accounts, much better than what we'd get as adults. Right now, not as strong, but still decent option. It's the highest paying one you're going to get within those limits. Now, as you see here, it's for people, children aged 7 to 17. They can get a debit card from 11. So it's a good one if you do want them to actually be sort of in a much more understanding of how banking works and how to manage their own money and actually have that debit card to use. This one, unlike a lot of the others I'm going to talk about in a moment, can be opened online, but you do need to be an HSBC customer yourself in order to do that. And actually, if some of the accounts I'm talking about right now don't sound suitable for you, I'm talking about the highest paying accounts right now, you might find that the bank you are already with has an easier option for you to open up a children's account with them online, possibly even manage it through your app, but maybe for a lower rate. So it's certainly worth looking at whoever you bank with, seeing what option they provide. And we'll come back to another one of those in a moment. Now, the next two to tell you about, the first one is Leeds Building Society Ronnie the Rhino Young Saver. This pays 3.9%. Under 18s only, but this is just a savings account. There is no debit card, and you have to open it up in branch or via the post. This is a bit leading building society account. You might be interested in building society simply because it's slightly more ethical in terms of what they do with the money when they have it. Generally, it goes towards lending people for their mortgages, but that is obviously the leading one there. There are other ones, if you want to go into the branch, find your local building society. The rate won't be as good as this, at least at the time of recording, but it might not be too far off, maybe 3.5, 3.3, something like that. But then you can go into the branch, maybe with your kid, and open it together and go through that whole experience, and then even get the ability of them, when they want to take money out, they can go in to the bank and do it. I know none of us do that anymore, and branches obviously closing at a rather rapid space. So in the future, it's not going to be quite so relevant, but it was a good way, particularly for me, and I'm sure for many of you watching, when you were little, going to the building society and with your little building society book and taking, monitoring your money and things like that. So that's certainly one to consider. This next one isn't a building society, it's a normal bank, but it has something different about it, which I thought might be interesting to you guys. And the rate isn't too bad either. A couple of building societies do beat it, but this is the Kent Reliance Demelza Children's Savings Account, paying 3.4%. You can save minimum £10 up to £25,000 there, so that's not going to be a problem for savings. You get that full rate on the whole amount. If they do have more than a certain substance, that's going to be pretty decent. Under 18s only, again, like the Leeds Building Society one, there was no debit card. What's interesting about this one, though, it's a nice little extra. All the money that's in all the different children's savings accounts at Kent Reliance, once a year, the average balance, whatever it is, 0.25% of that will be donated to a children's hospice in Kent, Demelza Children's Hospice. So it's a nice little extra there, nice little thing for also teaching your kids about charity and giving and things like that. Now, I said I'd come back to another one of the big banks, and this one is the Santander 123 mini account. Now, the last time I did a video on children's savings account was actually 2 years. It's been a bit too long between videos, but this was the top paying one there, at exactly the same rates here. It hasn't moved its rates in 2 years. This one will pay up to 3%, but obviously it depends how much money you've got in there. If you're familiar with how interest used to work on the old normal 123 account, this would be quite similar. So up to £999.99, it's just 1%, which isn't fantastic. On the next £500, you get 2%. And anything between £1,500 and £2,000, you earn 3%. So really, you're not going to be getting 3% on much of the money there. It's not great, but it does give you a debit card. And once more, again, if you're already a Santander customer, that's going to be a lot easier for you to open up. Now, if you want to beat those rates, then you want to look at a regular saver, which is exactly what we say, don't we? The regular savers for us grown-ups, the best rates are often in regular savers. And here are the top two ones to consider right now. The Halifax Kids Monthly Saver pays 5.5%. That is fixed for 12 months. Again, you can put up to £100 in there every single month. It's not a huge amount, but it's open for children aged 17 or under. Again, it can be opened online or in branch. And again, if you have a Halifax account already yourself, then you'll be able to sort of transfer money into it from the app and look at the balance in the app as well, which might be quite nice. Or there's the Saffron Building Society's Children's Regular Saver. Again, similar deal here, 5.05% for 12 months, and you get up to £100 and put in there every single month. That one can be opened in post or in branch, not online. There's one other actually worth sharing with you, the Principality Building Society Dillon Regular Saver, slightly lower rate there at 4%, but this is fixed for 36 months. So if you kind of think maybe rates will drop down, you want to lock in a rate for a certain amount of time, then that obviously is for 3 years, up to 150 quid. You can go into that every single month. Don't have to, but that's the most you can pay in. You also get a free Dylan the Dragon money box. Again, those nice little extras we used to get when we were kids. Remember little NatWest piggy banks and things like that. That is a little extra there. And while we talk about fixes working slightly differently, is an actual fixed account, not a regular saver, but this one is the rate is locked, but so is your money. This is for 2-year fix at 4% from Saffron Building Society. Once more, no debit card. It's just a savings account that is locked away. If the child is really little and they aren't doing anything with their money right now, then maybe that's not a bad option for you to guarantee that rate. Although, like I said, some of the ones we talked about at the beginning from Leeds Building Society and so on, which is easy access, doesn't have that, isn't too far off that rate. So before we get on to junior ISAs, it's worth just talking quickly about tax and interest for kids. Now, kids like us have a personal allowance in terms of all their earnings. So that is a £12,571. Now, if they're working, obviously some of their wages will go into that as well, but that's a lot of money they can actually make. Unless there was some sort of entrepreneur, it's unlikely they're going to go past that. Also, because they're probably below that, they'll get the starting savings on top of that, another £5,000, plus their personal savings allowance of another £1,000 on top of that. So nearly £18,000, more or less, that they can earn in interest for a year without tax being due. So you might be thinking, what's the point in a junior ISA? And probably for most cases, it isn't going to be a concern. However, you've got to remember that a lot of the money going into these children's savings accounts isn't their cash. And if you're a parent contributing to a kid's savings account, then there is a cap on how much interest that money can earn before it comes into your own personal savings allowance. And that is £100 per parent. So if you are contributing money to your kid's account, they make more than £100 interest, then that will come out of your PSA. If that takes you over your limit, then that will be taxed at your marginal rate. If there's both of you doing it, obviously that doubles to £200, but it's important to sort of bear that in mind. And with that kind of concern, whether you think that might be an issue, you can actually have any returns you make completely tax-free from a junior ISA. Now, a junior ISA works in very, very much the same way as a normal ISA will, an individual savings account. There are a couple of sorts. You can do a stocks and shares one, so you can invest in it if you want to. That's not what I cover on this channel, so I won't be talking about those. Or a cash junior ISA, where it's a savings account. The money you put in will earn a rate of interest. Now, where it is different to the normal ISAs is there is a cap here of £9,000 every single year that can be paid into the account. That 9 grand is not part of your personal, your ISA allowance of 20k. This is completely separate. So you can put up to 9k into an ISA every single financial year. And the interest, I say, all of the interest you get is completely tax-free. Although remember, as I said earlier on, no one can access that money. You or the kids can't access that money until the child turns 18. And then it turns into a normal ISA for them to use as they wish. Now, the top ones here very quickly. Coventry Building Society currently paying 4.15%. Skipton Building Society, 4%. There are a few more building societies with rates below that. But the next kind of big name people you might have heard of that don't necessarily require you to go into branch or live in that area is National Savings and Investments, NSNI, 3.4% there. So a fair drop down. Again, have a look at those. You can open them all pretty much post or branch, or NSNI you can open up online if you want to go down the junior ISA route. There are a couple more things you could consider, but they're not necessarily going to be the best one for you. Premium bonds. I'm sure a lot of you may have had premium bonds bought for you when you were little and you think that's a nice thing to do. These have cost £1 each, but there's a minimum of £25 worth of premium bonds you have to buy. So that's the least you can buy, up to a maximum of £50,000. What I would say with premium bonds is that the less you have, the fewer bonds you have, the less likely you are to actually win a prize, or the kid is likely to win any of the kind of prizes. So really it's sitting there, it's not earning anything at all, unless there are substantial amounts in there. It's not unheard of. It's not obviously impossible. They could win something, and those prizes they win will be tax-free, potentially up to £1 million they could win. But I think it's unlikely. If you want to know more about premium bonds, then do check out this video over here, links in this corner, and that gives you more information about how they are working. Another option you've got is a pension, which I know might sound a little bit weird to open a pension for a kid, but you can do this. And this is invested in the same way it would be for us, generally in the stock market, in stocks and shares. But because you're investing in this pension, you'll still get tax relief. So assuming it's the 20%. So every 80 quid you put in, it'll be topped up to 100 quid by the government. That money will keep being there, growing year after year after year. It will have a long time until they can get it. And probably for kids now, if the state pension age keeps increasing and you can't access your pension until 10 years below that, you're looking at sometime in their early 60s, early to mid 60s, they'll be able to get hold of this cash. But it could be quite sizable, particularly if you put in a decent amount throughout their childhood. It could easily be worth £1 million or more by the time they can get it. So that's one to consider. But again, what if they need the money sooner for tuition fees, for buying a house, buying a car, things like that? Obviously, the money's locked away. You can't get it until much later. And also, finally, obviously, all these things are great. They're talking about different accounts. I'm talking here really is about getting the best interest rate, the best return you possibly can. There still is the old-fashioned money box to have it on the side and putting money in there and saving away. You won't get an interest rate, but it is a great way for the kid to kind of really understand the value of money and coins, even as we do move further away from that digitally. If you want them to look at that from a digital point of view, again, this isn't a video about the best children's current accounts and bank accounts, but you have got things like GoHenry and Hyperspace and Starling Kite, which could be worth exploring as well, which again, digital ways, innovative ways of managing finance, particularly with an extra debit card that they can use and spend with, but you still have some kind of control. My name is Andy Webb. Thank you so much for watching. Check out these videos right here for more ways to boost your savings returns.